For the first time ever, the Kansas Jayhawks find themselves ranked number 1 in the AP poll as they set to face off against Arkansas on the road, and then we'll be returning home facing off against our arch rival, the Kansas State Wildcats, in the Sunflower Showdown. The Wildcats beat us last year largely because of an awful call by the officials, and we are certainly looking for revenge. But we've got to take care of business against the Razorbacks first and avenge the NCAA tournament loss that Kansas just took against Arkansas that currently has me depressed at the moment. And I'm hoping that this Kansas football episode will, lighten the mood a little bit. So in the last episode, we continued our in-conference slate with Oklahoma State and UCF winning both of those games 4-0 now in Big 12 play. Was not a great start against Oklahoma State, but we really picked it up. We didn't allow any points in the second half, and the offense did enough to win this game, although it certainly was not perfection on that side of the field. We did run the ball quite well for the most part. The passing game was decent, and then the defense again started kind of slow, but definitely picked things up in the second half. The defense has been a lot better, in my opinion, than last season. It's still inconsistent, but for Big 12 standards, I think this unit overall has been pretty good. Well, that was until the UCF game when the defense had probably their worst showing of the season. We still ended up winning by 6, scoring 41 points, despite not the best game through the air from Clyde Poole. He wasn't overly efficient, but we ran it at a very high level. Cornell teamer against a school who tried to recruit him. Gets over 100 yards. Ty Lord played well too. Defensively, the coverage was not great. The pass rush also was not great. But the offense gave us enough of a buffer to ultimately hang on and win this one, setting us up for 2 more Big 12 games against Arkansas and Kansas State. This week, the Wildcats will be playing against UCF, and this might be the only time you find me rooting for Kansas State, as it would benefit us with the recruitment of Hakeem Ficken, who's visiting UCF this week. He's going to be visiting us next week, so he'll be watching a lot of Kansas State over these next 2 weeks. I do want to take a stats update since we're now over halfway through the regular season, and it's been a little bit over a week since the last episode. I appreciate everyone's patience. Obviously, with MLB The Show here, that's been where much of my focus has been. It's been an efficient year for Clyde Poole. I think he's taken a minor step down as a runner, but the turnovers are down. Only 3 interceptions this year, just 1 fumble. He's done a good job of taking care of the ball while being overall more efficient through the air. The rest of the run game has also been kind of up and down, definitely not as efficient as last year. Ty Lord, for instance, averaged over 7 yards per carry a season ago. That number has gone down to 4.3, but he's also been a major asset for us in the passing game, as has Cornell teamer. Amani Law has done his thing. Rajon Jones has really seemed to get more comfortable in this offense and has really set himself apart from the other pass catchers in this offense as the wide receiver too. The offensive line has not had any individual weak links, but it's been an inconsistent unit. We have 4 different starters from our Week 1 team because of injuries and other players just moving up in the lineup. Left guard Carter Leversky is the only guy who has started all 7 games on the line. The defense has been led by the pass rush. Dekias Brinkley, Roddy Orr, and Seth Jennings, the dynamic trio. Those guys have all been really solid. And then the secondary, turnovers continues to be the name of the game. While Anthony Escalante still has not missed a kick this year, it's impressive the transformation he's made as a freshman now to a junior. One of the worst kickers in the Big 12 to now arguably the best. Let's take a look at this Arkansas team, their first season in the conference. And obviously the 2-4 record is not great, but this could easily be a trap game for us with our rivals coming to town next week. These guys have had a gauntlet of a schedule. They beat Tulsa, who's legit good. They lost to Maryland by 3. Maryland's one of the best teams in the country. They beat Colorado, who's ranked. And then over the last 3 weeks, all on the road, all 1-score losses against some of the better teams in this conference. We played against Utah. We know those guys are tough. TCU has been phenomenal this year, one of the 4 remaining undefeated teams in the country. And Kansas State has won 4 in a row themselves. They have not had an easy game yet, but they've either won or lost super close. So these guys are a legitimately tough squad who's a lot better than their record suggests. The former 5-star Malik Page is at quarterback. His skill set is very similar to that of Clyde Poole. It's a little bit ironic that both of these guys were in the same recruiting class, Malik Page was probably the second or third best quarterback in the high school class, while Clyde Poole, I don't think, was even in the top 100. Page has finally gotten a chance to start this year. He's been impressive through the air. The rushing numbers are lower than you would think for a guy as athletic as him. But, again, I'm not taking that lightly. This guy can really scramble. They've got a good group of skill position players with junior running back Braylon Russell, Connor Durbin, the redshirt sophomore receiver, although their best skill position player has been Sheldon Brink. This is a name we know quite well. Brink was a member of our Season 1 recruiting class. He played a little bit for us as a true freshman, ended up going into the portal to Arkansas, which surprised me. I thought he needed to go to a Group of 5 school to get playing time, but boy, have I been wrong. As a starter for the Hogs, he's been phenomenal this year, averaging 95 yards per game. He has recorded at least 80 yards 5 times and 100-plus yards 3 times. We've been looking for more consistency at the receiver position, and we might have had it on our roster previously with Sheldon Brink and just didn't even know it. 6'3", 200 pounds, ultra-athletic, dynamic with the ball in his hands. I always knew the ceiling for him was high, and it's been bittersweet seeing him tap into that ceiling. The Hogs have a talented defense as well. A lot of these guys obviously have SEC experience. And while it has not translated to the win column in the Big 12, again, they've played some good teams really close. Maryland is as good as anybody in the country. Arkansas lost that game by 3. Utah's been great this year. TCU's arguably better than anyone in the country. Arkansas has kept those games close. This is not going to be an easy one by any stretch for the Jayhawks, who will start this one on offense, coming off probably their best and most consistent offensive performance in Big 12 play so far this year a week ago. On first down, Poole rolls to the right, on the run, nice throw. It's hauled in by Amani Law, who gains around 21 as Kenyon Denbo is dinged up on the play, the right tackle. Amani Law having another strong season now as a sophomore, the big play threat. Going to run it up the middle on 3rd and 9. Teamer gets around 4. Denbo is hurt again. Kansas is not afraid to run the ball on 3rd downs because, as we know, this is a team who loves to go for it on 4th down. 4th and around 6. Offense stays on the field. Poole hit as he throws incomplete. The receiver was going to be wide open. I think that was Law. It would have been an easy first down, but the pressure allowed by the left tackle, Reggie Chanel, leads to that ball going nowhere. So Arkansas gets the stop defensively, and we'll see their offense for the first time today. Malik Page looks to throw it under pressure himself. Steps up, tucks it, and runs. Gets the first down nearing the 45-yard line. Even though Page's rushing stats haven't been good this year, he's as dynamic as it gets at the quarterback position. RPO, that one is caught. Broken tackle. Nice play after the catch. And that goes for a first down for the Razorbacks. The tight end, Shamar Easter, as Nikias Brinkley's now banged up. 3rd and 7. Doink! Off at the shoulder pad of Shamar Easter. The Razorbacks with 2 strong tight ends on this roster, Easter being one of them. And that'll bring out the field goal unit. It's the junior Akeem Kalambai from around 24 yards out to put the Hogs on the board. Kick is up and through. Not a great opening drive defensively, but we do get a stop in the red zone, holding them to 3 points. The offense got a couple nice plays going on the last drive, hoping for some here as Poole goes to the left side with all this room to run, past the 50 out of bounds at around the 41. A very impressive gain of 32 yards for Clyde Poole, showing off that dynamic rushing ability. 3rd and 10, Poole looks to throw it, goes short. That one is caught by Teamer, who gets 6. And again, Kansas' focus is on getting closer to the first down marker because they know they're in 4-down territory, going for it here on 4th and 4. Teamer, the running back in the backfield, he gets it to the left side. Teamer with a first down, past the 25, but there is a flag. Death, taxes, and untimely holding penalties. This time it's on the backup tight end, Pierre Johnson. The football gods do not want us getting a first down clearly, so we're just going to punt it away. Arkansas back with it a little over halfway through the quarter. Page, play action with a dart up the middle for Shamar Easter, who gets it near the 30. A risky throw with 4 defenders in the area, but Page places it on a dime. The former 5-star keeps it on the option and gets smothered. Marcus Calvin, the senior, brings him down for a loss of 4. 3rd down and 8 now for Arkansas. Page is just going to hand it off. A delayed give to Russell, and he goes backwards. Mo Nwokeji brings him down, and Arkansas is going to have to punt it away. A good drive there defensively. Got to get some points here on offense. We've been able to move the ball, but we haven't been able to score. Play action. Poole under a ton of pressure, and he cannot escape. Sacked on the play by Justin Logan. And that'll make it a 2nd and 23. Backed up all the way at the 10. Poole looks to throw it up the middle. It's picked off. Wyatt Simmons with the interception on the return. Brings it all the way to the 1. A disastrous start offensively for Kansas. What is going on? 3 drives, no points. 1st and goal at the half-yard line. Braylon Russell is in for a score, and Arkansas has Kansas on upset alerts. A 10-0 lead for the Razorbacks. Kansas does not look good right now on offense. This is not normal for us. 3 drives, 0 points. Very bad possession by Clyde Poole, looking to get back into the swing of things as he makes a nice throw on the run for Isaiah Lamore. 2nd and 5 at the 45. Here is Teamer with it, over 100 yards a week ago, going backwards. The run game has given us nothing. The offensive line has been a train wreck. Poole has only been sacked once, but there's been no time for him to throw it consistently. The run game hasn't really gone anywhere either. We need more up front from the offensive line as Kansas finds themselves behind 10-0. The line has been bad. The skill position players have been bad. Clyde Poole has not looked good. Case in point, hit as he throws, looking for Teamer, who was open. The Wyatt Simmons with the interception is there with the pressure. Arkansas has a chance to make it a 3-score lead on this drive. Page up the middle. Nice throw for Shamar Easter, who gets it near the 50, wrapped up by Seth Jennings and friends. Arkansas's offense hasn't even been that impressive. Yeah, they have 10 points, but on their touchdown drive, they started at the half-yard line. Page wants it all. It's intercepted in the end zone. Taylor Davis thought about a return. He's just going to take a kneel down. There's the arm strength from Malik Page on full form. Problem is he lobbed it into double coverage for no good reason. And Taylor Davis comes down with the turnover, potentially a momentum boost for the Jayhawks. And boy, they need it right now on offense. 4 drives, 0 points. Again, very unlike us. 2nd and 4. Here's Jazir Tolbert up the middle, trying to run through dudes as he gets around 12. Good run there by Big Ja, keeping the chains moving. 2nd and 10 at the 47, under a ton of pressure. See? Clyde Poole has had no time to throw. I get it's a halfback slip screen, but even so, there was no time. 3rd and 10. Poole looking, and it's incomplete. That play he did have time, but nobody got open. I was trying to use her Teamer so he could get closer to the ball, but instead he went the wrong way. Page nearly sacked in the end zone. Instead he is spaced to the left and slides it around the 25. And to think that could have been a safety. Up the middle, the other tight end, Brenson Bromero, breaks the tackle from Okeji and gets it to the 25. It's been an inexcusable effort, it feels like, from this team. The tackling's been inconsistent. The offense has been a train wreck. For the end zone, it's intercepted again. Somebody's shown up today. It's Taylor Davis again. 2nd interception of the first half for the veteran safety on back-to-back possessions. Overall, minus some of the deficiencies tackling-wise, the defense has played a good game. They're keeping the door open for the offense, who's got to score at some point in this first half. Following a 3rd down conversion from Lamore. Poole scrambles to the right. He's out of bounds past the 50 for a 1st down. Under 40 seconds to go in the half. Now 3rd down and 4. Teamer gets it up the middle, and he gets around 2. Kansas uses a timeout. You best believe what they're going to do on 4th down. A funky formation for Kansas. Tolbert runs into his lineman and doesn't get it. What was Luis Roche, the center, even doing there? Why did he run directly into Jazir Tolbert? That doesn't make any sense at all, but it's a perfect encapsulation of this first half. Page under pressure. He is sacked. First of the game for the Jayhawks by Devin Murphy. And it doesn't look like Arkansas is going to get anything before the break. A low-scoring game. 10-0 lead for the Hogs. Overall, the defense has played a pretty good game. Arkansas's lone touchdown drive, they started at the 1. It doesn't really count. Other than the opening drive where they got a field goal, Arkansas has been underwhelming on offense. Malik Page has thrown 2 interceptions, but it hasn't mattered because our offense has been a complete joke. We look like we have no idea what we're doing on that side of the field. The offensive line has been an utter disaster. I don't know what those guys have been doing all day. Clyde Poole has not been great himself. 9 of 19, 71 yards with an interception. That's not going to cut it, but I don't think it's entirely his fault either. Of those 10 incompletions, I would guess at least 6 or 7 of them have been either him throwing out of sacks or him throwing the ball away. To make matters worse, we don't even start with the ball in the second half. 3rd and 10, Page up the middle. He's got Sheldon Brink, the former Jayhawk, for the first down. He's been quiet today, only 2 catches for 30 yards. Page gets it to Easter now. Boom! Ball goes flying! And it's picked up by the defense. Damani Maxson recovers the fumble forced by Sam Pemba. There's a penalty on the play, but it's a holding on the offense. Kansas will decline, and they will get the ball back. In terms of possessions that did not end because the half ended, Arkansas's turned it over 3 times in a row. We've got to take advantage at some point and not have Clyde Poole losing yards on read options. 3rd down and 7 now for Kansas from around the 41. We cannot go another drive off of the turnover without scoring, as that one is caught for a first down by Amani Law. Nice grab, not an easy one. Poole rolls to the left on 2nd and 7. He's going to scramble, gets a block from Lamore, and tries to keep the tippy toes in. He cannot, but he does get the first to around the 22. On 3rd down, Teamer is close up the middle. I don't think he got it, but in typical Kansas fashion, we have a flag. I would think Arkansas would choose the yardage here off of the holding by Roche, and no, they're going to decline. Okay, suit yourself, 4th and inches, offense stays on the field, and Jazir Tolbert gets the first. I get Arkansas's 4th down defense has been good today, but that feels pretty stupid. 1st and goal, it's caught in the end zone! Rasheem Diggs with the touchdown, and the Jayhawks are within 3. I'll be honest, I think there was some miscommunication there. I don't think Poole and Diggs were firmly on the same page in terms of what route he was going to run, but Diggs ends up making a really nice catch anyway. Credit to the freshman for holding on to the ball. He absorbs a big hit by the safety, who could have made a play on it if his back wasn't facing the ball. So it's now 10-7. Kansas all of a sudden within 3. Page nearly sacked off the blitz, but instead he gets the first down and more to around the 45-yard line. Mo Nwokeji sent the pressure. Seth Jennings was nearly there as well. Got to bring him down, though. 3rd and 3. Open. Down the field is Easter. Untouched. Into the end zone for an Arkansas touchdown. 48-yarder for the tight end, Shamar Easter. And Arkansas is back up by 10. That's an answer from the Razorbacks, who respond quickly. Earlier on the drive, Dakias Brinkley broke his ribs. So this game just continues to go from bad to worse. That's going to be probably a multi-week injury for probably who I would say is our best player. 3rd and 15, up the middle, wide open is Amani Law. Juke move, 1st down, past the 40. There's a nice play for Law. Got to continue to find a way to get the ball in his hands. On 3rd and 5, Poole steps up, space to the left, and he is wrapped up past the 50 for a first down. I give the offense some credit. It's been a bad day, but they looked a lot better in the 3rd quarter. Defensively started strong with another turnover, but then we allowed the big score. Down by 10 going into the 4th, looking to hold on to that number 1 ranking. We'll see if we can do it. On 1st down, Poole rolls to the right, has plenty of room to run. Look at all that space. Past the 25, past the 20, into the red zone. Clyde has not had his best game as a passer. He hasn't scrambled a lot today, but when he has, he's been very effective. If not for the big sack in the 1st quarter, he'd be probably pretty close to 100 yards rushing. 3rd and 3, the Jayhawks switch the play here at the line. Poole looking to call an audible here, trying to switch something with Law. Looking to throw it under pressure. That one is broken up. We tried to audible Law to take a streak route for the end zone. Maybe we would have looked that way if there was any time for him to throw the ball. And I'm going to kick the field goal here on 4th and 2. 28-yarder for Anthony Escalante. It is up and good. He remains perfect. Normally I would go for it in that spot, but we have not been good in short yardage situations today. I wanted to, at the very least, make it a 1-score game. Arkansas has it back up by 7. Russell going backwards. Mo Nwokeji brings him down as it is now a 2nd and 12 for the Razorbacks. Page, play action, looks to throw it under more pressure up the middle. It's Connor Durbin. He brings it to around the 40, a nice first down, and I think we're going to tack on some extra yards. It's a roughing the passer against Sam Mpemba. If Kansas does end up losing this game, their lack of discipline probably will be the number one reason why. The penalties have just gotten out of control. Here's Russell on first down, shrugs off the tackle by Davis, breaks another and is out past the 30. But we have a flag. Arkansas gets one now. It's a holding. Basically offsetting the roughing the passer. It's Jake Hendricks, the All-American guard, a projected draft pick in this year's class as a redshirt sophomore. 2nd and 14, play action. Page nearly intercepted. Santiago Herrera had it in his hands. You got to come down with that. 3rd and 14 now. Page looks to throw it. Under pressure, goes short. It is caught. Not enough for the first down, though. The defense gets the stop, giving the offense an opportunity to score and tie it. 3rd and 2. Tolbert with it. Breaks the tackle. Gets the first down. Good job by Jazir Tolbert. As it's now a 3rd and 15. Kansas behind the sticks because, if you guessed it, a holding call. Poole looking for Lamore, and he cannot hang on. A big hit jars it out. 4th and 15. We don't have a choice. We're going to have to punt the ball here. The defense has been very good today. We've got to trust them to get another stop and give the offense one more shot. RPO, Durbin, first down, breaks the tackle. Durbin breaks another, past the 30 into field goal range. Got to find a way to bring him down, and a field goal puts Arkansas up by 2 scores. Page on the option, first down inside the 10, takes a shot by Marcus Ashe, and that brings us to the 2-minute warning. Kansas hoping for a big stop defensively. Russell on 2nd and goal, he's close, but not quite. 3rd and goal now. The Jayhawks using another timeout there. They are out. Russell with it to the right. He does not get it. Might have lost a yard. Kerry Folk and Santiago Herrera bring him down. So Arkansas is going to choose some clock, and that brings us to the biggest kick of the season. If they make it, it's a 2-score lead and basically closes the door of a realistic comeback. Akeem Kalambayi. It's a short one, but not an easy one, and he got it. 20-10. Arkansas up by multiple possessions. The Jayhawks are going to have a little over a minute and no timeouts. Not looking good for Kansas, who's hanging on for dear life. Poole, first play is the only play. Tevis Metcalf with the interception, and Arkansas upsets the number 1 ranked Kansas Jayhawks here in Fayetteville. An all-around disastrous performance offensively, a fitting end with a turnover. Clyde Poole has only thrown 3 interceptions through the first 7 games of the year, but he was picked off twice today. And Arkansas shocks the Jayhawks, who lose their first game of the season. This was a bad loss because it was a game that we could have won. The defense wasn't perfect. They allowed a couple of big plays, but they really allowed 13 points, if you think about it. And especially in the Big 12, that should be more than enough to win. We should have been able to win with no problem. But the offense played not just their worst game of the season, but one of the worst games of the entire series, right up with the opener in Season 2 against Fresno State. This is certainly our worst offensive performance in conference play in the entire series, and it was everyone. The offensive line was bad. The receivers had some drops. The quarterback play was not good. And the untimely penalties just absolutely killed us in this game. This is obviously a young team, but the untimely penalties have been an issue for a while now. Clyde Poole had probably his worst game of the year statistically. I'll be the first to say it. He was not good in this game, but he also does not deserve the entire blame. I would say over half of his incompletions, he never had a chance to complete the pass because the offensive line was just not very good in this one. On the ground, I wish we had Poole run it more. He was very effective as a scrambler while the rest of our run game was pretty mediocre. Lord and Teamer had the exact same numbers, oddly enough. Through the air, Amani Law had some nice catches. We should have found a way to get him the ball more. He was the only receiver with over 10 yards per catch. Since we didn't have time to throw it, we had to go short the entire game, and I think we did a good job of playing into that in the second half and adjusting. But but obviously it was not enough. The offensive line stats look good, but don't get it twisted. If you watched the game, it was easy to say that they were not good. Defensively, we played really well for the most part. The one thing really is that we just didn't send enough consistent pressure. We only had 1 sack in this game. As for Arkansas, Malik Page was fine. 2 interceptions were not great. He was efficient, though, in the second half. He was really good on the ground as well. Sheldon Brink was quite quiet, but the other receivers stepped up. 7 for 82 for Durbin, 5 for 102, and a score for Easter. And even though Brink had probably his worst game of the year, the other guys were able to make plays for this team, and obviously their defense was terrific. The defensive line didn't put up the big numbers, but again, they won them the game. They drew penalties. They consistently forced incompletions and disruptions in the backfield. And that's, again, ultimately why we lost this game, our first of the year. Let's talk about recruiting now. This is what I would consider the most pivotal point of the season in recruiting. All hands on deck, all recruiting hours on deck. So it's nice that we get a big commitment here with defensive end Kevin Hodges, who was one of my top targets on the board. We did not have the lead for him going into last week, but we had a pretty good visit with him against UCF, swooping in to land him. Hodges is a 4-star from Fordyce High School in Fordyce, Arkansas. He's a gem with a lot of upside, in my opinion. Impressive size, impressive athleticism. I think he could be an NFL player in a few years. He's explosive at 6'5", 270, and a player I'm very excited about. We do lose out on 5-star defensive tackle Frederick Denbo. He is headed over to Houston. He will not be joining his cousin, Kenyon Denbo, with the Jayhawks. Houston was always the leader for him. It's unfortunate that we miss out. Rashard Oakham is down to 3. I think he is a Kansas lock. Edward Babers is down to 5. We have taken the lead for him, which is good. So we land 1 of 2 here. Hodges is a big get, in my opinion. I think he's going to be one of the better players for us in this cycle. Losing out on Denbo certainly stings, though. He's a really talented player, but Houston went after him hard early. I thought he had a good visit in week 7, but it was not enough. They had too much of a lead with a great visit the prior week. We're going to replace him with another defensive tackle, Prince Higgins. I'm not going to scout him or give him a scholarship yet, though, because we've got to use these other points on the better players, and we can focus on him a little bit more later. The receivers are going to give us some really exciting battles these next couple of weeks, and I used some coaching points to where we can put more points into the receivers. Instead of 50, we can go up to 65. That's going to be key for a guy like the 5-star Elijah Parrish, who had a good visit last week against UCF. We have the lead. We've just got to hold on. As for Hakeem Thicken, it's a lot closer. UCF is ahead. UCF has him on their campus this week. I think if they beat Kansas State, there's a good chance he goes there. Now, the thing is, his number 1 deal breaker is championship contender. And UCF obviously is not at a very good season. It's only a B-. So even if UCF does get him to commit, I think there's a chance we can still flip him because our championship contender is still going to be really high, even with this loss against Arkansas. Both him and Parrish had the same pitch that we have to give them, the aspirational pitch. They're practically the same guy. I feel like they would really enjoy each other's company in the locker room. Maybe we can land them both. Who knows? We have 2 guys currently scheduled to visit week 9. Thicken along with quarterback Trey West, who's likely to go to Kansas State unless this visit goes super well. We have these 2 guys who have already visited, these 2 guys who have committed, and players who have gone elsewhere who have also visited. But we have a lot of guys who are ready for visits who we haven't scheduled yet, including a few guys who we're going to have come in week 9. I'm not going to do Emmett Hull, though. I really want Hakeem Thicken to not have the competitive visit with him. I'm really focused on landing Thicken because I think he's really good. Greg Crisp already has a visit in week 9, as does Sateki Kalawayea. So with that, the choice has already been kind of made for us. We're going to have Edward Babers, the tight end, come in week 9, and we're going to have 5-star edge rusher Tim Afamasaga come in week 9. We're going to have a good group of complimentary visits with the 3 offensive players. There's going to be no competitive visits. These are 4 really good players who are going to be coming onto campus, and I don't want to risk losing them. We're going to take Kalawayea off the board altogether. He's the number 1 inside linebacker in the nation. I really like him, but Texas Tech has a huge lead. He's going to visit there next week, and I think he's a lock to go to A&M. I don't think there's anything we can do. So in terms of replacing him, there's 2 linebackers I'm looking at. Both of their names are Alex, and they're both like the same player. They're both from Miami. They both have the same deal breaker, and they both are interested in the exact same schools. What are the odds? We're going to put Soriano on the board. He's a little bit better, I think. His ranking is a little bit higher. But it would be kind of cool if we get both of them. Otherwise, we have 245 points to now spend. I'm going to take some off of Oakham. I think there's no shot we don't land him. Nobody else is down to 3. But we have a lot of guys who are still in very competitive races, and I want to position ourselves to where we can take points off of them when they're down to 3, like what we're doing with Rashard Oakham. So with 275, this is how we're going to utilize our recruiting hours. We're going to go a little bit more into these running backs. Parrish and Ficken, I'm going to keep them with 65 the rest of the way because I think those are 2 of the 3 or 4 best players on the board. Otherwise, it's just about being strategic with who we give our points to and how many, trying to focus on guys who are farther along in their battles and guys who really need it in terms of competitive races. We have a fun schedule coming up in Week 8, Mississippi State, Florida. Undefeated LSU facing off against Texas A&M. Alabama probably moves up to number 1 with a win. And then Pitt and Syracuse, those 2 teams going in opposite directions right now. Pitt has not won since their starting quarterback, Julian Duggar, suffered a season-ending injury. Before that, though, we will go through next week's recruiting, and we start with some good news. Rashard Oakham, unsurprisingly, has committed another cornerback in this year's class. I like him a lot from Mount St. Mary's High School in Oklahoma City. I think him and Lane Oregon are 2 very good players at that position. We only had 1 cornerback in last year's class, Cornell Abreu, who I think is also going to be really good. So we already land 2 this year, and we dropped to number 10 in the rankings, as you can see. We have 2 players down to 3, and we're not in the lead for either of them, which is not great, but I'm not ready to panic on either because both Trey West and Hakeem Ficken will be visiting this week. We're going to have a lot of catching up to do, especially in the race for Hakeem Ficken. It looks like his visit at UCF went really well. Thanks a lot, Kansas State. Way to do as a solid, guys. In terms of players down to 5, we're going to have to catch up for Demetrius Labinho, Gideon Nabuife, the other receiver I really like, we have the lead for, so that's good. So with Oakham down here, we have 100 hours now left to use. The race for Trey West does not look good. We're in 3rd place. We're going to have to pass both Kansas State and Iowa, but he's already visiting this week. We've put a lot into him, so why stop now? In the case of Hakeem Ficken, it's similar. Not looking good, but he's already visiting this week. And UCF, even if they did beat Kansas State, they're another loss or 2 away from being lower than B- in terms of the deal breaker. So I think we can still land both of those guys even though we have a lot of work to do. As for Elijah Parrish, we're in a good spot. Wisconsin seems kind of hesitant on using their hours into him, which is kind of weird. I mean, he's a stud from the state of Wisconsin. We're no longer in the lead for Timothy Masaga, but we do have him visiting this week. Now, unfortunately, he'll be going to Oklahoma next week. Oklahoma's already taken 1 5-star defensive player from us in this cycle. Hopefully, they don't do it with another. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to go over. We're not going to be adding or taking anybody off the board this week. We're also not going to schedule any visits. We don't have another home game until week 12 against Florida State, so we don't have to schedule our visits yet. Rather, we can focus on just putting on a lot of points this week and then kind of go from there as we see how the board plays out, especially with the 2 guys down to 3 in Trey West along with Hakeem Ficken, who both, of course, are visiting this week. Looking at some scores across the nation, we will start in Lexington, Kentucky. Auburn, 6-1. Why are they not ranked? Well, maybe this game is why. They probably should be ranked to begin with, but they didn't do themselves any favors in this one. Really nice catch there in the end zone for a score, helping lead Kentucky to the upset over the Tigers, 24-21. Auburn kind of does this every year. They start the season off strong, and then the second half of the year, they forget how to play football. Hank Brown was not overly efficient. He was picked off 3 times. Solid game from true sophomore quarterback Cliff Peppers, who also led Kentucky in rushing. Next up, Kansas State facing off against UCF, our opponent from last week against our opponent of next week. As I suspected with the Hakeem Ficken visit, UCF does end up winning this game. Way to do us a solid, Kansas State. The one time we actually want you to win, they don't. The Wildcats were up by 7 going into the 4th and ultimately lose. Blake Barnett had a pretty good game, though, at quarterback. I don't think he's to blame for the loss. As for UCF, another strong game on offense. Dylan Rizk, who played quite well against us, performed well against the Wildcats. Next up, we head to the Swamp, a huge game in the SEC. We know that Florida's really good, a playoff team from last year. What about Mississippi State? one of the best defenses in the country against one of the best offenses. They say offense wins games, but not this time around. Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, with the upset over Florida. Looks like Mississippi State might be a playoff team, folks. They climb all the way up to number 3. Florida also moves up. I don't know why. They just lost at home, but they go up in the rankings despite a bad game from projected top 5 pick DJ Lagway. Eldrin Rattler, the former 5-star quarterback with a really strong game, looking to put his name on the map. Of course, in that same recruiting class as Malik Page of Arkansas. West Virginia heads to Buffalo, facing off against the Bulls. Buffalo looks like one of the best group of 5 teams in the nation. I mean, they beat Michigan, for Christ's sakes, earlier in the year. But they made a loud and clear statement today that they are for real. Not only beating West Virginia, but blowing them out. 41-10. My goodness. Buffalo is the real deal in the MAC. And if they can take care of business and win this conference, these guys will and certainly should be a playoff team. West Virginia's had a good year in the ACC, but this is certainly a big reality check for them. Washington, who's had a strong year in the Big 12, currently number 9, faces off against in-conference foe UCLA. The redshirt junior DeMarcus Davis, one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the nation, would help lead the upset for the Bruins. UCLA takes this one over Washington. Always a good day to see the Huskies lose, in my opinion. 28-24. Washington had 21 of their points in the third quarter alone. Now, Davis only completed 56% of his passes. It really was not his best game, but he still did enough to help lead them to the win. As for Washington, of course, their young quarterback, Damon Williams, is polarizing. He's talented, but he's undersized. Does he have the NFL traits that you look for? He had a pretty good game. Wouldn't say he was the reason why they lost. The North Carolina Tar Heels having a really strong season in the SEC. Their first year in the conference with head coach Bill Belichick. They want to make a statement against a really good Tennessee team. Would you guys say 49-13 is a statement? Well, that's your final score. North Carolina blows the doors off the Vols. Michael Merdinger throws 6 touchdowns. This is certainly a bad look for the SEC. UNC won like 4 games last year in the ACC. The SEC has been a fraudulent conference in this series, and they've been so since episode 1. Elandro Spiro had his worst game of the year. Peyton Lewis was good. Probably should have given him the ball more. Wisconsin heads to South Bend. Notre Dame obviously started the year off slow, but they've won 4 in a row. The Badgers, however, would get the upset. 37-35 over Notre Dame. It's been a quietly strong season for Wisconsin. 5-star receiver Elijah Parrish likely to visit the Badgers in Week 10. So who will see if that could be enough for the Badgers to potentially overtake us in his recruitment. I feel like it's been a weird year for Jay Pitts. He hasn't been bad. He's still making the big throws that he made last year, but it feels like his efficiency has dropped down a tick. And in a stacked, top-heavy quarterback class, I do wonder if he's still a lock for the first round. And if he's not, would he consider coming back for another season? Georgia heads to Tuscaloosa. The Tide would move up to number 1 with a win. This is the game in this series that Alabama would always lose. But they didn't lose it today. This Alabama team is different than the one we've seen in each of the first 3 seasons. Kalen DeBoer was as good as gone, bearing a big season. But Alabama's playing better than anyone, and it's because they've got, in my opinion, the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. Eli Holstein has had an unbelievable season. His stock is going up quite a bit. In the previous Broncos franchise episode, we talked about him as a third-round prospect, but he's playing like a first-rounder. The former 5-star Yvonne St. Jules had a great game. It's been a weird year for St. Jules because individually he's been awesome, but the team's not winning games. I don't really get it with him. Number 4, Virginia Tech, another team who can easily move up with a win, facing off against Boston College, and as we could have kind of expected, this game was a blowout. But maybe not the team we would have expected to win. Boston College takes care of business against the Hokey Pokeys, 34-13, a strong win for the Eagles, and a wake-up call for Virginia Tech, who kind of looked like one of the front runners in the ACC, with Clemson and Miami both struggling. Pitt was having a great year, but they lost their quarterback. Virginia Tech looked like arguably the favorites in this conference, them and probably Syracuse. And maybe West Virginia, but they just lost by 30 to a MAC team. Greg Hilliard, 2 carries, 108 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One of them was from 58, and the other one was from 50. Hilliard also had 1 catch for 2 yards and a touchdown. 3 touches, 3 scores for Hilliard, while Davy Belfort, he was quite bad for Virginia Tech. And we'll wrap things up in the Carrier Dome, one of the more underrated rivalries in college football. Number 25 Pitt, number 13 Syracuse. Both of these teams going in opposite directions, as I mentioned earlier. Syracuse keeps winning, Pitt keeps losing, and that trend would continue today. The Orange, one of 3 undefeated teams left in college football. Obviously, we lost. We're no longer one of them. It's Syracuse, TCU, and LSU. All 3 of those teams won this week, and they all took a big leap in the rankings. Syracuse now number 6. I give Ty Diefenbach some credit. He played pretty well, but the injury to Julian Duggar completely killed this team's season. I think they could have made a case and made a run to the playoff with Julian Duggar, but he got injured, and that has deflated all the momentum that Pitt had. Peter Kingsbury played quite well. Yassine Willis, one of the most underrated players in the country. He's an 82 overall, but he's played so much better than that throughout this series, and I think he could easily be a high NFL draft pick. The kid can play. Around the country, Arizona, USC taking care of business. Oregon started the year off slow. They're playing a lot better. Maryland 7-1, now ranked number 2 in the nation. Ohio State beats up on Purdue. Ohio State has the head-to-head over Alabama. I feel like they should be ahead of them, even though I think Alabama's a little bit better. Oklahoma beats South Carolina. The Game Clock's winless in SEC play. Florida State back on the win column, but they barely beat BYU at home, so how much of a win really is it? 49-17 for TCU over Arizona State. Not many teams are playing better than the Horned Frogs right now. This is the first season that we don't play TCU, but I wouldn't be surprised if we take care of business, which is a lot easier said than done, that we would play them in the conference championship as Indiana puts up 59 on Michigan. There's something off with those Wolverines, man. I don't know what the deal with them is. Our offense was not very good against Michigan, which I guess is kind of the bad look now. I mean, they allowed 60, for Christ's sake, against Tyler Cherry, looking to improve his draft stock, the quarterback from Indiana. As we take a look at the rankings, Alabama, of course, now number 1. Maryland number 2. Mississippi State climbs up to 3. Only 3 unbeatens left. Number 6 Syracuse, number 7 LSU, number 8 TCU. None of them were ranked coming into the year. I don't know if any of them even made a bowl game last year. Florida, of course, moved up for whatever reason, while we are number 10. One more week until the college football playoff rankings are up. If they were here this week, we would be in. But there's a lot less margin for error now in terms of conference play. We're in 3rd, technically. Now, Arizona's played an extra game. That's why they're ahead of us. But still, it would have been a lot easier to make the conference championship had we won today, as there's a look at your players of the week. As for the Heisman race, Sam Onatulu goes from 1st to off the list entirely. I don't really know why. I get Eli Holstein at the top, though. He's been incredible. I don't really know why Lenore Sellers is in 3rd, and even Luke Cromanhook in 4th. Someone like Christian Martin, who's put up the big numbers and has the team success, should probably be ahead of both of those guys. Let's take a look at this matchup against our good friends, the Kansas State Wildcats, who started the year off poorly 0-3. But they did have a tough stretch to open the year. Cincinnati's proven to be quite good. Washington's obviously a strong team. They are currently 3-2 in conference play. They beat Baylor, BYU. They beat Arkansas. We can't really say anything bad about them. And they did just lose to UCF. Unfortunately, the one game we would have needed them to win. The Wildcats obviously beat us last year when they arguably shouldn't have, and because of that, we're hungry for revenge. Blake Barnett, the redshirt junior, still is the starting quarterback for them, and of course they have the talented freshman in Chris Paul, who we recruited out of high school. I think he originally committed to Missouri and then flipped to Kansas State. Well, nonetheless, there's a good chance one of him or Trey West becomes the long-term quarterback for the Wildcats. Kansas State's in the lead for Trey West, but he'll be visiting us, and we're going to hope to flip him away. As for the rest of the team, they have a solid group of backs, including Joe Jackson, and then Jeff Howden, who is teammates with Jazir Tolbert in high school. Good group of receivers. They have a talented offensive line. That includes Camden Beebe, the younger brother of Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman Cooper Beebe. And then left tackle Ryan Howard, the younger brother of former Kansas State quarterback Will Howard. So as we saw, Dekias Brinkley broke his ribs last week. He will be out until the final regular season game of the year. And obviously this sucks. I think he's the best player on our team. He's having a great year. 8 sacks this year. Not only leads the team, but it also leads the Big 12. He is second in the entire country in terms of sacks. I went by conference. Nobody has more TFLs than him in all of college football. He's been that good. We will have him back for senior day against BYU, but he will be out until then. Now, luckily, Mario Maddox is actually pretty close to returning. We should get him back for the Florida State game in a couple of weeks. In terms of Brinkley's replacement, we're going to give Kyrie Brower some playing time today. He's played twice so far this year, and obviously everybody else on the defensive line is going to have to step up. Afa G, the 5-star, is going to play a lot more. Roddy Orr is going to have to be able to level up. Seth Jennings is going to have to be able to level up. We're going to be asking for more out of those guys with Brinkley out of the lineup for the time being. So with that, we get this year's Sunflower Showdown underway. Every time we played against Kansas State, it's been a thriller. Year 1, we won in 5 overtimes. Year 2, we scored a game-winning 2-point conversion in overtime. Last year, we lost by 7 off of a really bad call by the officials, but they ended up putting us in the playoffs over them anyway, even though they had a better record, and they had the head-to-head. Of course, Kansas State won 15 seasons in a row prior to the start of the series, but we don't need to talk about that. Kansas still has the all-time series record, as Cornell Teamer loses 4. Big play there by the Wildcats, 3rd down. Poole looks to throw it, backs up, hoping someone gets open, up the middle, it's caught! Amani Law hangs on for the 1st down. Nobody was open. Poole was probably going to have to throw it away, but he finds Law in the nick of time, who makes the grab. Play action for Lord. Poole rolls to the right, lobs it up, one-on-one for Lamore. He's got it! Isaiah Lamore in for a score, and Kansas strikes first. It's no secret the offense has got to be better. Playing their worst game of the year a week ago, and that's a pretty good start. It looked like a risky throw in one-on-one coverage, but I knew Isaiah Lamore was going to position himself to the ball better than the defensive back because, well, he's used to it. He's a receiver. He knows how to make that play more than the safety, and Clyde Poole's trust in him pays off with a beautiful throw. Let's look at the Wildcat offense now for the first time today. Kansas State repping the all-white uniforms as they go play action. Barnett, no time to throw it. He is sacked by Kerry Folk. I didn't think we sent enough pressure last week, which makes it all the more impressive our defense played so well. But a good play there by Kerry Folk, matching the sack total from a week ago. 3rd and 18, another sack. It's Seth Jennings in the backfield for a 5th time this year, a career high for the junior. Matched up with the All-American Ryan Howard at left tackle. That's going to be a big matchup. We're going to be asking a lot out of Jennings, who becomes our alpha pass rusher. Offense back with it. Cornell Teamer with a juke move past the 50. Kansas is looking really good so far. We needed to set the tone quickly in this game, and we have been. Poole cannot escape. He is sacked by Kansas State, and that'll make it a 3rd down and long for the Jayhawks. Couple of guys there in the backfield, including Jordan Allen. On 3rd and 13, Poole flushes out, looks to run with it, scrambles, juke move, and he gets the first. Breaking tackles past the 40. A good scramble, and it's a gain of 15 for Clyde Poole, as Kansas will reset the downs. The Jayhawks have been dominant through the opening 6 minutes, except for the offensive line. There's another sack. Billy Weathers, the redshirt junior, brings down Clyde, and now we look at a 3rd and 14 for Kansas. Poole looks to throw it under more pressure. Sacked again. 3rd of the ball game for the Wildcats. Jordan Allen brings him down, and Kansas has to punt it away. So the Wildcats get it back. They got nothing on their first drive. Barnett is sacked again. A quick start for Seth Jennings, his 2nd of the first quarter. I called upon Jennings to step up today against an All-American left tackle, and he has been very, very good. 3rd down, backed up in their own end zone. It's a safety. Devin Murphy makes the play, but hold on, there's a flag. They're going to call a holding on the offense, so we're going to decline it and gladly take the 2 points, although even if we accepted it, it would be a safety anyway. Kansas gets it back up 9-0, taking advantage of the sack by getting an additional 2 points. Poole scrambles, looks to run, gets the 1st down, and he's out of bounds past the 40. That'll wrap up the first quarter. Overall, a pretty good start. I wanted to see a sense of urgency and energy from this team coming into this week, and that certainly has been the case. Moving it on offense, commanding the clock. The defense has been terrific. Blake Barnett has taken 3 dropbacks in this game. Sack, sack, and sack. He has not thrown the ball once because he's been sacked every time. First down for the Jayhawks. Poole on the run, floats it up. He has a wide open man. Amani Law. No one's in front of him. And he takes it all the way for a touchdown. That might be the most pathetic coverage I've ever seen in my life. Poole was rolling out to the left. He sees Amani Law is wide open with nobody in the area. And you're not beating Amani Law in a foot race. 45 yards to the crib. Kansas adds to the lead. As I said a moment ago, I really wanted to see a sense of urgency out of this team. We have all the reasons in the world to play our best game, and so far we have. Coming off a bad loss last week, playing against our arch rivals, and a team who beat us last year when they probably should not have. That's all the reasons in the world to play your best game of the year, and so far, we're doing that. Here's a nice play, though, for Kansas State. Going to make up some yardage. A big play for Trey Spivey, the talented receiver. And it won't matter. Holding against the offense. They're going to call this one on the tight end, Frederick Dubose. Now we know what it feels like on the other side for an untimely holding call. I've got to say it feels good. Nearly sacked again. That one is caught for a first down. Finally, they throw the ball and complete it. It's the senior Andre Davis. That nearly was another safety, though. Seth Jennings almost had his 3rd sack of the game. Jackson going backwards on first down. It's Roddy Orr and Mo Nwokeji who bring him down. Everybody's eaten defensively so far. 2nd and 12 now for Kansas State. Up the middle, another loss. There was 5 guys there to bring down the running back, Jeff Howden, the redshirt freshman and high school teammate of Jazir Tolbert. The two of them shared a backfield together. 3rd and 14. Barnett breaks a tackle, breaks off the sack, gets around 7 and takes a big hit. No flag. We are lucky there. Samuel Mpemba launched with the head. That could have been a targeting, could have tossed him out of the game and given them a first down. We dodged a bullet, I think. 2nd down, it's an RPO screen and a loss of yardage for Cornell Teamer. 3rd down and 8 now. Poole looks to throw it, going to scramble with it, and he jukes away from the defender, runs for a first down, and slides past the 50. Very impressive play by Clyde Poole. Following play here for Kansas, play action for Ty Lord. Poole scrambles, has a wide open man downfield. It's Amani Law, tries to hurdle the defender, he cannot. It is an awfully bold strategy, not covering the best receiver on the team. That's twice now where he's been butt naked wide open. From the 15, Cornell Teamer gets a block to the outside, and he is gone. 23-0 lead for the Jayhawks. Every time we play against Kansas State, the game is super close. We did not want that to be the case this year. We wanted to show them who was boss after what happened last year. We're still in the first half. There's still time. But we're certainly doing so. Here's a nice run, though. It's Howden. Breaks a tackle past the 50. A good run there by Jeffrey Howden past the 45. Following play for Kansas State after their biggest offensive gain. RPO, nice throw and catch. Hauled in for a first down by Andre Davis. And for the first time today, Kansas State, they're moving the ball. Howden in the game again. He gets it back on 2nd and 9. Another first down. And he's wrapped up by Davis and Mpemba, two of the senior captains. Now in the red zone, 3rd down and 1. Jackson, juke move. Did he get it? Are they going to tell us if he got it? Yeah, any moment. Hello? No, they didn't get it. So Zach Stokes got juked out, but he still touched him to impede his contact. Devontae Crispin brings him down, and on 4th and inches, they will go for it here at the 2-minute warning. In shotgun for whatever reason, as it's caught in the end zone for a touchdown. Hauled in by Trey Spivey. I'm really surprised they threw it. I'm very surprised by the formation, but I guess it worked out. 23-17, the lead back within 2 scores. Kansas back with it, looking to score again before the half. Poole on the run, has space, and he's out of bounds nearing the 40. That one stops the clock. A nice play for the Jayhawks, keeping the chains moving, looking to take a 3-score lead into the break. But that's not going to help. Ty Lord loses a few. 3rd and 8. Poole under pressure, short throw. Lord, juke move, first down. Good maneuver there by Ty Lord. Kansas still with all their timeouts, minute 15 to go. Poole on the run as an open man on the slant. It's Cornell Teamer past the 30 to around the 26. Offense is playing one hell of a game. After our worst game a week ago, we're playing one of our best. On third down, that one is caught, and it will go for a first down. A nice grab by Ty Lord. Kansas calls timeout. Second third down reception on this drive by Lord. Look at the clock, though. There's 8 seconds. Poole does not know what to run. He's going to look to throw it up the middle, and it is dropped in and out of the hands of Teamer. Could have been intercepted. With 4 seconds to go, we're just going to take the points. Not a gimme on the hash mark, but Escalante has not missed yet this year. 36-yarder squeaks through. That was a close call. But Escalante gets it to go. And that'll end what was a very impressive first half for the Jayhawks. 26-7. All phases are clicking. Clyde Poole has been utterly terrific up to this point. He had one of his worst games of the year last week. Right now, today, he's 11-13, 203, and 2 scores. As there's still a second left. I guess I shouldn't have started my yap session. Amani Law, 4 catches, 116 and a score. They are not covering him for God knows what reason. As for the Wildcats, Blake Barnett certainly has not been the problem. 5 of 7, 64 and a score. He's just been under constant pressure. He didn't get to throw the ball in the first quarter, taking 3 sacks. But the offense has been clicking. The offensive line has played a great game. Give those guys a lot of credit. Poole was sacked 3 times early. Since then, the O-line's been flawless. We're not getting bad penalties. We're blocking for the run game. And Clyde Poole's having time to throw it and or dance around in the pocket and scramble. Defensively, we did just allow a score, but otherwise, we've been phenomenal in this game. Wildcats start with it here in the third as Howden loses yardage. Seth Jennings, what a day. 2 sacks and 4 TFLs. He's dominating right now against Ryan Howard on that left side. Howard's an NFL prospect, and he is getting abused by Jennings, who's having the game of his life. That one is nearly intercepted on third down in and out of the hands of Teron Jean-Pierre. Kansas State had to do something on that possession. That was a big drive for them, and they failed. Third down, miscommunication, pass is incomplete for Rajon Jones. The Wildcats start the second half with a stop. 2nd and 9 now for Kansas State. Here's Barnett, sacked again. Roddy Orr joins in on the fun. Roddy Orr has been one of the unsung heroes of this defense. I had some big expectations for him out of the transfer portal after a 10-sack season a year ago with Iowa, and he has beat my expectations. This kid can really play. Third down, lobs it up, it's picked off. Teron Jean-Pierre on the return, tries to cut to the side. That was a bad decision, but he still gets it near the 30. Career interception number 2 for TJP, and this game continues to go downhill for Kansas State. The Jayhawks get it back, looking to add to the lead, maybe make it a 4-score deficit. As on 3rd and 9, Clyde Poole is by himself in the backfield. We'll go 5 wide. Short throw. Nicholas Scotland-Williamson gets the first down. Sometimes the biggest play you can make is a short dump off and let the receiver make a play after the catch. Here's Jones in the end zone for a score, and Kansas adds to the lead. Big drive for Rajon Jones. He has caught passes on each of the last 3 plays, and it finishes off with a score. The sophomore continuing his strong season as it's 33-7. The backups are already starting to make their way in for Kansas in the third quarter. 3rd and 9, Jackson gets nothing. Ben Bieria brings him down as we still have some starters in the game. Cornell Teamer in at running back still. We have a new quarterback, Sean Pullard, the redshirt freshman. Pullard on 2nd and 6, rolls out on the run, floats it up, and it's caught. Rasheem Diggs past the 20. Very nice play by Pullard. I like seeing him out of structure with a big throw. It's not going to count because of a holding call on Kenyon Denbo. The starting offensive line still in. As that wraps up the third, Kansas up big, 33-7. The backups are already in the game, including quarterback Sean Pullard. I'm hoping to get all 3 of our young quarterbacks a drive here in the fourth, including Pullard, who, of course, has a chance to be a starter for us down the line. 3rd and 7, Pullard under pressure. He cannot escape and is sacked. Couple of guys there in the backfield. Jordan Allen leads the way, talented senior. He's going to be a high draft pick. He is joined by Vernon Greer, a former Kansas recruiting target. Wildcats back with it. Here's Spivey down the field. Gio Chinasa will not catch up. It's a 61-yard score for Spivey, his 2nd touchdown of the game. And the Wildcats are back on the board. New quarterback in for Kansas. Kerry Chosen, the redshirt freshman. 3rd and 4. Chosen on the slant. He's got Rasheem Diggs. Nice catch. Diggs is really good in these contested catch spots. He's a physical receiver, showing it here today. Down the field, nice catch again by Rasheem Diggs. He's a rotation player for us already, but I wanted to get him some extra snaps here in the second half, and he is balling. Here's a play action up the middle. Diggs, juke move. I didn't know he had that in his arsenal. Gets it near the 10. Diggs is getting all the attention, but Kerry Chosen is having one hell of a drive. The kid is slinging it right now. 1st and goal. QB sneak. He is in. Kerry Chosen in for a touchdown. I think Sean Pollard has progressed better than Chosen in terms of his rating in this series. But in terms of in-game reps, whenever Kerry Chosen has gotten to play since his true freshman season, he's been really good. Like, really, really impressive. Here's a nice screen. It's Howden. Breaks the tackle, and he will get it past the 30. We have now brought in some of the third stringers. A lot of true freshmen out there, and on that play, trying to tackle him, they certainly looked like freshmen. Right back to him on the screen. Juke move, another 1st down. It works again before a big hit by number 9. I believe that is Cordell Hurley, the true freshman safety. The Wildcats have brought it into the red zone up the middle with a dot for Jaquez Spradley-Demps. The veteran junior who's been a big part of this offense over the last couple of years has been quiet today. As now it's time for the onside kick, and it will be recovered quickly by who else than Rasheem Diggs, who's played the game of his life. Another new quarterback in. It's the true freshman Carl Willingham. He's only played in one game prior to this. That was against Duke, where he threw a pick. Jet sweep for true freshman Pierre Wilbon, and he only gets around a yard. We're going to have to punt it away. Kansas State gets it back late. Barnett looks to throw it, and he is sacked. A fitting end. Off a G. Brings him down. Former Kansas State recruiting target, and that will do it. The Jayhawks get revenge. Here in the Sunflower Showdown, they take it 40-21. That is our 69th. Nice. Win all-time in this rivalry, and this one feels especially sweet after getting screwed last year. Even though the committee still gave us the spot in the playoff over Kansas State, we didn't get those bragging rights last year, so it's nice to take back our rightful crown that we have now held in 3 times in this series. And of course, Kansas had not won this game prior since like 2008. Before that, Kansas is the all-time wins leader in this rivalry, though, and in terms of all sports, I mean, it's like a father-son relationship. Kansas just giving these boys belt, and that's exactly what we did here in this game. A dominant showing. We were able to bring the backups in pretty early in the second half. Clyde Poole, after one of his worst games, he had one of his best. He was absolutely terrific. We got to see a little bit of the other quarterbacks. Kerry Chosen continues to stand out in his limited playing time. His connection with Rasheem Diggs was really fun to watch. Those two guys were in sync throughout that possession. Diggs with 3 big receptions from Chosen. On the ground, everybody here got the ball. Teamer was solid. Poole with some solid runs. Amani Law with a big first half. Rasheem Diggs dominated in the second half. The offensive line, I thought they played a pretty good game overall, minus the opening quarter. And then defensively, another good showing. We needed Seth Jennings to step up. Boy, did he. 4 TFLs and 2 sacks in just 2.5 quarters. The rest of the pass rush made plays, and Escalante still has not missed. Blake Barnett now 2 weeks in a row has played well despite losing both games. He threw 3 touchdowns. Granted, 2 of them came in garbage time, and he was able to inflate his numbers against some of our freshman defensive players who certainly looked like freshmen. The run defense was really good, though, and then defensively, Kansas State, they did not have much going for them. A successful visit, I would say. Maybe this is enough for a guy like Trey West, who was likely to go to Kansas State and could very well be their long-term quarterback. Maybe it's enough to sway him to come here. It would be ironic if he goes to Iowa instead of either us or Kansas State. Rough showing there, as you can see, for Will Howard, the left tackle. Shout out Southern PA, but wow, I mean, way to put on for the state, buddy. He got toyed with by Seth Jennings, the Kansas native. Hakeem Ficken has also gotten to see Kansas State lose 2 weeks in a row. Not that they're going after him, but it's kind of funny. Hakeem, if you want to see Kansas State continue to lose, you know where to go. I'm just saying. We'll find out what happens with recruiting next week, but first, Seth Jennings wins the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week, and we take a look at some fun matchups here in Week 9. Ohio State facing off against Northwestern, a shocker as Ryan Bowe leads the Wildcats to the win over Ohio State in a close one. Northwestern has not been particularly great this year, but they win this game 23-21 with a solid showing by the redshirt junior Ryan Bowe. Ohio State with only 2 losses. They're definitely better than they were last year. I think this is still a playoff team, but they're still going to have to perform. They don't have a lot of margin for error now with multiple defeats. Next up, we head to Colorado. Arizona and Colorado, 2 of the better teams in the Big 12. And boy, did this look like a Big 12 game. Offense, 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 and more offense. 88 combined points. And what would that be? 14 touchdowns as Colorado wins 56-42. Over 1,000 yards of offense, 4 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions for both quarterbacks. Braden Dorman did all Arizona could have asked for. He also ran for 65 yards in a score. Teron Williams, 10 for 226 and 3. But Ryan Staub was just as good. After our bye week this week, we head to Boulder to play against Colorado next week. The Buffs are really good. They're one of the, at worst, the 3 or 4 best teams in the conference. Texas facing off against North Carolina. The Tar Heels coming off a big win against Tennessee last week, looking to keep the momentum rolling. And I have good news and bad news. The bad news is that the offense played a lot worse. They definitely did not score 49 points. The good news is the defense was so good, they won again, 14-10. Low-scoring game. UNC now ranked number 20. The offense took a massive step down from a week ago. Merdinger completed less than 50% of his throws, but it didn't matter. Right as I was back in on Arch Manning, he plays mediocre. Texas, I think, now has 4 losses. Their playoff chances are pretty much toast. 3 seasons as a starter for Arch Manning. He will finish, assuming they don't make the playoffs this year, he will have gone 0-1 in his playoff career. Number 11, Oklahoma heads to Missouri facing off against the Tigers. It was not a very good day for one of our rivals, Kansas State, but it was a good day for Missouri, who started the year 0-3, but they've won 5 in a row since then, led by their true freshman, 5-star quarterback Colin Provo, who is a stud, unfortunately. Provo was great today, throwing 4 touchdowns, 333 yards. We're definitely going to renew the rivalry with Missouri next year. I really want to face off against him. No touches for Reed Sharp. He hasn't really been able to form out a role in this offense. Clyde Casey, though, former Kansas recruiting target, has, although he was pretty quiet in this game as a true freshman. Jake Wakefield continues to play well. He's been a pleasant surprise, in my opinion, for Oklahoma at quarterback. Number 1, Alabama. Number 3, Mississippi State. The winner of this game, you would think, would go to number 1 in the poll. Big opportunity for the Bulldogs, but it doesn't look like they are quite on that Alabama level. The Tide win another big game. This is a matchup they would have lost in seasons 1, 2, and 3, but it just feels like there's something different about this Alabama team. The biggest difference is that, in my opinion, they had the Heisman Trophy winner. Eli Holstein is building some ground in the award race compared to everybody else, and if the season ended right now, I would not have to think about my vote. He would be the choice. Eldrin Radler was a lot worse than he was last week against Florida. I don't think Mississippi State should have fallen down to 10, though. That feels kind of harsh. Syracuse, number 6, undefeated. Facing off against the University of Virginia, we would have a surprise here. The Hoos knock off the Orange in a close one with this really nice touchdown, winning the game 20-19. So with Syracuse losing, we are down to just 2 unbeatens. LSU had a big win this week, and then TCU also won. Those are the only 2 unbeaten teams left in America. It's funny because them along with Syracuse, as I said earlier, who could have seen it coming? Those teams were not ranked coming into the year. I don't even think any of them made bowl games. So even though Syracuse loses here, even though Zeke Hayes fumbled the ball twice, I'm not too worried about them. I get that Virginia's not very good, but they only lost by 1. I still think this Syracuse team is probably the front runner right now in the ACC, largely because the rest of the conference has been mid as hell. As we take a look at some other scores, Maryland is able to squeak past Nebraska. The Terps still number 2. I continue to be amazed with the year that they've had. Florida State is back in the rankings. They beat Arkansas. Again, I can't say anything bad about Arkansas. We just lost to them. TCU now number 5. Oregon beats Penn State. They're playing some good ball. Notre Dame back on the win column. USC very quietly continues to win. They haven't played overly impressive, but they're playing good ball. A lot of high-scoring games in the Big 12 this week, and then you have 10-7 between those two bottom dwellers. BYU wins their first conference game of the year. Oklahoma State now 0-5 in Big 12 play. Tennessee loses again to Ole Miss. A rough episode for Tennessee. Coming into the day, I thought they could be a playoff team. Now not a shot. Minnesota beats Indiana 40-3. The same Indiana team who nearly put up 60 against Michigan. They scored 3 today. Now, Michigan did win. They won 24-6. College football doesn't make sense. How can Indiana score 59 against Michigan, and then the following week, Indiana gets 3, and Michigan allows 6? This sport makes no sense, and that's why we love it. Let's take a look at our rankings. We'll start with the AP poll. Kansas sits at number 7, as we're able to move up a few spots with our nice win over Kansas State. In terms of the college football playoff rankings, which are now the ones that matter, we are also in number 7, and it's the same 6 teams ahead of us. There's a little bit of changes behind us. I think Oregon is higher here in the playoff rankings. But as it stands now, we would make the playoffs. We would play against Oregon in the first round, a rematch of the Rose Bowl from Season 1, a game that we got the massive upset in. And if we won that one, we would likely play against top-seeded Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. With Arizona losing this week, we are firmly in second in the Big 12. We would play in the conference title game if the season ended today, but we've still got to take care of business. 2 of our last 3 games are against ranked opponents. We have a bye week that I think comes at a really good time. We get extra time to prepare for Colorado and Florida State, who are probably the 2 best teams on our schedule this year. Here are your players of the week. Of course, Seth Jennings among them. In the Heisman watch, Eli Holstein, no surprise, still in first. The only change is Sam Onatulu moving into 5th over Christian Martin. I think Onatulu probably should be in the top 3, but again with Martin, even though he's been inefficient this year, he should still be on the list. Here are some of the bowl projections. Obviously, we're projected to host a playoff game against the University of Oregon. Next episode, I think we're going to cover just the Colorado game, but we're still going to go through 2 weeks of recruiting and games around the country as we have our bye week. And again, I think this bye week comes at a great time for us. We've been a little bit banged up. We get to heal through injuries, and we get an extra week to prepare for some ranked opponents. That'll wrap things up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out. Rock Chalk.